So we have a panel investing in Web3 domains with Marcus Andrews. There he is. I love domains. It's better known as I love domains. And Vita should be coming up too. And how you been, Marcus? Been a while.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Mic check. Hopefully you can hear me.
I hear you.
Yeah, doing well as always, man. Just staying on this course, trying to push Web3 domains to the masses.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just making sure Vita's here, but maybe
in the event.
she's here. She's here. Okay, great. There she is. Hey, Vita. All right. So I'll let you two handle it, and I'll be in the back. If you need me, just call me.
Yeah, absolutely. How you doing today, Vita?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing awesome as well.
Okay, wonderful.
I guess we can both begin by introducing ourselves, and then we can kind of get into it. I do have a couple things prepared, so.
Sure. You want to go first or me?
What, ladies first? Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, I am Vita Ridgway. And in terms of Handshake, I got involved with Handshake. Well, actually, I first got involved with domaining, when COVID happened and Clubhouse was popular. And I ventured into a room talking about domain investing. And as a marketer and someone who works with clients, I had been collecting domain names for probably 15, 20 years maybe, and ended up with about 100 or 50 or so, but not for investment, more like protection. So like whenever I thought of an idea or something like that, just because I know the domain name would be gone, if I waited, I would register it. However, I did not know, or I had not even thought about this whole big industry behind domain names, or that a domain name could sell for $1 million or $2 million or $30 million, right? And so then when I started to learn more about domains and domain investing, I went from owning like 150 that I had been holding for like 10 years or more to over maybe 1,500 at one point. I don't have that many anymore. But anyway, along that journey, I learned about Handshake domains. And I was really excited about that, especially being a novice to the industry in general, and knowing that some of the more coveted names you just wouldn't have access to in the traditional ICANN system. And you definitely wouldn't have access in terms of being a TLD owner. So that was really exciting to me, especially being somewhat at that time new to domaining in general. And so I just dived, right in and got really excited about Handshake and the capability of it, or the prospects, the future prospects of it. And yeah, I've been here since. So.
Yeah, awesome story.
Okay.
Always glad to hear how others kind of discover the space and Web3 domains in particular. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Marcus Andrews, aka When Airdrop. I own iHeart Domains. For many of you, know me as a fellow investor and collector in the space. Professionally, I've been in this particular side of the space, which is Web3 domains, for about 3 years. I am a Spaces host and domain investor. Obviously, I also do business development in the space. And then also professionally, some of you may recently know that I am the community manager and Spaces host for Freename. So I am full-time, both working in the space and occasionally and build a business in the space. Again, I've been hosting a podcast for the past 2.5 years now, specifically on Web3 domains and Web3 domain education. Many of the members of the Handshake community are actually directly responsible for me entering the space in this way. And actually it's going to be part of the opportunity that I'm going to be talking about today, which is specifically Web3 TLDs. Most of us in the Handshake ecosystem are in the ecosystem from that level and are currently looking at that opportunity and trying to figure out how to profit from it. So Handshake introduced me to that side of the space. I've been in that side of the space since. And so definitely looking forward to this topic. Again, sometimes we kind of need a reminder of why we're here, or need kind of like a pep talk or kind of a little bit of coaching on how to profit from these things. Because a lot of us have bags of Web3 TLDs that we may not know what to do with. So definitely looking forward to getting into this conversation and talking about how to invest in Web3 domains. I don't know if you had any thoughts that you wanted to start off with, but if you'd like me to start off, I can go ahead and do so.
Sure, go for it.
Well, yeah, as I mentioned before, the opportunity that most that enter in the Handshake ecosystem will come face to face with, and the opportunity that I was introduced to is in the Web3 TLD side of the space. And what I kind of wanted to do during this talk was talk about the opportunity almost like the people here again are hearing it for the first time, because again, you never know when somebody kind of needs a refresher. As we all know, Web3 domains is the new digital real estate. They aren't just personal addresses. These are real on-chain assets, meaning that you fully own them, you can trade them, you can use them across many decentralized assets. As I stated before, personally here at iHeart Domains, I primarily focused on acquiring Web3 top-level domains from multiple main spaces. And what that means is that I'm not just buying individual domain names, such as yourname.nft or myname.eth, buying entire Web3 domain namespaces. I think this is a game-changing opportunity and a unique opportunity for those of us who are able to invest at this level. And so I hope that this talk illustrates that. A lot of us, again, when we see the current market and we see the money that's flowing in the market, the trading that's going into the market, it's primarily happening at the SLD level. Again, the yourname.nft, the whatever it is, .eth. But I truly believe that the bigger play is and always has been Web3 TLDs. Again, gives you the opportunity to own and control an entire namespace, but it creates an income flow that doesn't exist with traditional domains, right? The only way you can make money from an SLD is either build on it, and then you're monetizing what you built, or sell it one-to-one to someone else who's able to see the same value that you're trying to get from it. However, with TLDs, you have an unlimited stream of income. You're able to sell what's personal and means something to someone else as a sub-asset on that asset, and you're able to even match that price to what you think that name is worth, whether it's premium or non-premium. For branding and for communities, one of the things that I talk about constantly on my spaces is that the power we haven't even realized as far as individual communities using these TLDs in order to personalize experiences, in order to identify members of the communities for rewards, things of that nature. But the power of TLDs, again, for what you can build with it extends far beyond just the individual monetary opportunity from selling one domain to another person. And then last but not least is we're in an emerging technology right now, and we all have and have taken advantage of the opportunity to invest in the space extremely early. And we have no clue as to where it's going. The conversations that we've been having over the past couple of years about domains and about their utility and about what they'll do in the future, and those conversations are shifting. We've kind of gotten past a lot of those goalposts, and we're starting to see more of what's possible instead of doubting. And so being early now, especially those, again, who are sitting on bags of domains that are trying to figure out what do I do with these, this might be the time to really start looking into that bag and looking at this opportunity, because a lot of the why has been starting to make sense or being made sense by a lot of people who are now starting to build and create partnerships with these TLDs. Hopefully that wasn't too long-winded, but love to hear your input on that.
Sure, I totally agree. With regard to emerging technology, I kind of think that in the decentralized domain name space, that right now is kind of a perfect storm between domain names, digital assets, digital identity, cryptocurrency adoption, the evolution of AI and AI agents, and all of that coming together. So if you were so early with HNS, then now you can really see some of the true possibilities that we probably didn't even think of 2 or 3 years ago, because again, AI wasn't as popular or evolved as it is today, and some of the possibilities that have become obvious now with some of the things that are capable, well, that HNS is capable of doing, I think it's really intriguing. And even more so specifically with HNS, for me, it's like when you think of other, not to really talk about other protocols, but when you think of like ENS or whatever, for me, I kind of see ENS, I think it kind of got popular really with NFTs and the whole NFT boom. And I kind of see it more like the whole .eth after your name and all that as more like a flex or a vanity play to kind of like say, hey, I'm here in the space or whatever. I'm not a normie kind of thing or whatever. But I think that with HNS, and the reason why I went all in on that as opposed to ENS is because of the protocol and the capability of the protocol and the functionality and beyond what ENS has to offer. That's one thing. And then also I think that in this current political climate, with everything happening and people really being more concerned about their data and having control over their data and personal information and wanting to have real free speech and be censorship resistant, I think that it's perfect for that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that. One of the things I did want to say too, and I see all the questions, or should I say comments in the chat. I love it to death, bro. Ask as many questions as you guys want to. One of the things that I did want to talk about, since the subject matter is investing in domains, is probably the best advice that I could possibly give anybody, which is to be diversified. And that's something that I've said from the start. Since day one in this space, I've never taken sides. I've never been a maxi. I've never said that one protocol is better than the other, or the rest of them have to not exist in order for the other ones to be successful. When we're talking about purely investment strategy, right, which is the topic of this particular talk, it's not about decentralization, it's not about ethos, it's not about saving the world. It's about investing, meaning you're putting money into something and wanting to get a return from it. Being a maxi in this space or going all in on a protocol is probably the least productive thing you can do. And I think time has shown that, right? So all the spaces, and for instance, a couple of the questions here, a lot of it's talking about Unstoppable. But Unstoppable, for instance, right? Not necessarily a personal fan of Unstoppable. Do I have a bag there? Sure. Am I friends with them? No, I have no relationship with UD. But I can't also negate at the same time some of the things that they have done to progress the space, because they have done things to progress the space. They've built relationships. They put money in places where some protocols don't even have any money. And they've gotten awareness for Web3 domains in places where some of us still have no presence. One day, what they've done is going to benefit you. The same thing with ENS. The only reason people are able to use and understand how Web3 domains even works, I mean, we all talk about it, it sounds good, but those actually work. And people are able to come into the space today, and in some protocols, even for free, with ENS subdomains from like base and stuff like that, people are able to come and use and get a head start on what these domains even do. And then that brings them into the rest of the space. People are not going to come into this space automatically knowing what decentralization is, automatically attach that ethos, and automatically trying to save the world. Some people are going to come into the space with stupid pictures, are going to get an NFT domain from somewhere else first, and then find us. And when you're talking about wanting to get a return on your investment, it would behoove you to place yourself in those spots, irregardless of how you feel about the naming protocols. That's what I had to say on that one. And yeah, free name and UD are not at all related.
Okay, awesome. Well, I agree. So I believe that at this point, it's all a little speculative, right? And so it's probably prudent to hedge your bets with regard to the different platforms available. And also what you said about kind of what comes out in the wash. So yes, some of what a lot of the other protocols have done have introduced people to the space. But when you delve in, and this is, I think, what happened for me, is when you delve in and you learn more about the space. And if you want to do something that is beyond, I'm just a part of the community, so I want to own a name. But if you're thinking about really building, if you're thinking about investing, then once you do your research, I think that what comes out in the wash is that HNS is the best protocol to do that. And yes, there is still a lot of development that needs to happen, a lot of adoption that needs to happen, a lot of marketing that needs to happen. But I do think that if you are truly talking about a long-term investment, and if you are truly talking about staying power, I think that HNS is definitely the better bet when you're hedging those bets. So if you're like kind of taking it all in, I think that it's a smart investment to make sure you, like you said, have a bag over here for sure.
Yeah, and I can understand why. I mean, probably everybody in this community would take that stance. And again, diversification, that's essentially what that means, right? You can lean heavily on one protocol over the other. You can even internally have a favorite. Not saying not to still hate the other protocols. I'm just saying from a smart investment position, if you're trying to get a return on the investment, that to ignore the progress of other protocols just because you don't like them is just ridiculous, right? And I'm a personal victim of that. But many times when I've told my personal story of coming into the space, I've explained that I came into the space as a B&B chain maxi. I felt like the B&B chain communities were friendly. They didn't have any of those weird whitelists or didn't have to kiss a bunch of A in order to mint an NFT. I mean, I liked it over there. And I liked it over there so much that we kind of created an anti-ENS attitude over there, or not the anti-ENS, but anti-ETH attitude, to the point where we were like, F ETH NFTs. I'm going to ignore new mints that happen over there. I'm going to ignore whitelist opportunities that happen over here on ETH because I'm pro BNB. And it sounded good at the moment, except I miss mints like Doodles. I miss mints like Pudgy Penguins. I miss mints like Lazy Lions. I faded all of these mints because I had this ethos that BNB chain was the best chain on earth. And even though internally I could feel that way all I wanted to, it was just stupid in practice to ignore all of those other NFT mints. And so that's what I'm saying. Again, coming back down to investment, that means I am taking money from my pocket, putting into a naming ecosystem and hoping to get a return on the investment back. How many people in this space going all in on this tech can say that, right? And that's just being honest with ourselves. I'm giving real honest advice, and I give this advice. I give contrary advice to every naming community I'm in if it fits, right? And the advice here is that if you're ignoring ENS, you're probably not making any money. Even now, to an extent, if you're ignoring UD, even though they don't have much of a resale platform, you're probably not making money. On Freename, I can show you I've made a whole bunch of money over that platform. So if you're ignoring that and you're wanting to build in the TLD space, you're probably not making money. And so if you're trying to change that, it is important to diversify regardless of your feelings.
I agree with that. I would say that it's kind of some of the things that you named, like having missed doodles and all of those kind of things. For that reason, yes. But I think that to a large degree, for me specifically, when comparing the protocols, it's kind of a difference in being a consumer or a producer. So there are some areas where I may want to, if I'm a consumer, then I may be going all in on ETH or other blockchains for different reasons and checking out whatever is the newest thing. Because again, it's all speculative. We don't ever know really what's going to stick. But definitely has some limitations in terms of building. It's slow, it's expensive, and all of that. So when you're talking about what has the most growth potential, I do believe, like for building and for producers and people wanting to build something with longevity, I'm not sure if ETH is right for that because of the issues. So those are some of the things to consider, I do believe. But yes, I think it's smart to know about everything going on in the space because again, it's still, although we've been here 5 years, at the same time, it's still very early, right? It's still all very new, not only for HNS, but for crypto in general. A large percentage of the world population doesn't own any crypto, doesn't have, what we're talking about right now is all Greek to them. So it's still very early. So we don't know really what is going to be the one thing that sticks. So it's good and prudent to kind of maybe, if you can, invest or at least learn about it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, just to reiterate, even outside of, the big ones that we continuously talk about, such as UD, which is our fan favorite here, which again, got nothing to do with them people, and ENS and Freename and et cetera. There are also other large naming ecosystems. Again, I agree with you. I do feel like Handshake has a ton of promise. Obviously, the roots and its decentralization are superior to how other systems are rooted. Obviously, utility is going to be key with adopting people. But I think, again, in the sake of diversification and looking outside the box, demonizing other ecosystems when they currently work and they have a use case, it's probably not a good path moving forward because there's other ecosystems out there that I think are also legit, like Space ID, right? Space ID is set up on a DAO, has a token, it's tokenized as well, integrated into a lot of different D apps, runs on BNB chain, actually is set up some of the naming systems for quite a few blockchains. Then there's some legitimate tech out there. There's legitimate tech supporting SATS name service, not SATS name service, but actually it's SNS, it is .sats or .btc. That's for Stacks name service, meaning that's what I meant. Like that technology works. And that technology isn't something that can be currently served by our technology. So, why would you hate that it exists is the point that I'm making, or ignore investing in it because it's different than this. And again, just coming back to the subject at hand, because I agree with a lot of comments that people are making, that the space and what we're trying to accomplish in it technically, no, it's not about money, right? The reason why a lot of us have gotten to this space isn't about money. It's about advancing the space in a technical way. It may be about protecting yourself from censorship. It could be about a lot of things. But I'm talking about this topic right here. This topic is called investing in Web3 domains, which again, by its definition, is money being placed into something with an expectation of return when you either exit that product or from holding that product. And we were talking about that specific subject. It is 100% about money. That's
Okay, so when you were talking about investing in, Web3 domains in general, what would you say is some of the, or at least one or two of the best use cases for the audience of why you should invest?
From a consumer perspective, the why you should be the end user and buy a domain would be for digital identity. So you like the name, it aligns with you, you can build your personal brand around it, and that's why you purchase it. And then, of course, you'd start using it at that point for either sending, receiving crypto, or for reverse resolution, etc. If you're an investor, the why you should buy a name, you start to go with the rules of domaining at that point. Is it a premium domain name? Is it getting any inquiries? Is it something that has any previous sales or anything like that to it? You start looking at ecosystems that have more volume than others. I mean, right now, it is by far .eth, right? It's not even arguable. So if you're an investor coming to this space, even before I would tell you to buy a free name TLD, I'd probably go tell you to buy your name on .eth.
So the other in this title is about privacy. And with regard to the general audience or people who are new to the space, like you said, talking to people like they don't know anything about it yet or are novice, what would you say are some of the reasons with regard to privacy and data protection?
Yeah, for the reasons why somebody should own a domain for privacy and data protection, or exactly that, right? So you have ownership not only of the name itself, but you have ownership of the data and records in it. Privacy, I wouldn't pitch so much because I'm not sure that blockchain at all is really private. The data isn't, what do you call it? It isn't adjustable, or you can't like mess with it or alter it, but it certainly isn't private. So I wouldn't pitch it from that perspective. But as far as like from a security perspective, as far as like, again, whatever you're connecting to it, however you're using it, whatever you're building with it, knowing that someone can't either censor or take it from you or edit or alter those records without your permission. I think that's a good base for people to build from, especially if you've had something crumble or being taken from you before. But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily pitch privacy. It's not private at all. It's pretty wide open.
Okay, cool. Well, Mike has a question about could a company that has built its own blockchain bridge over to their own blockchain with a Handshake TLD to avoid any issues that you're outlining with regard to privacy and have more control?
Is that question to me?
I guess it's to us or me.
Yeah, that sounds like super technical. So I don't know. Sounds good though, right? Okay, so you're basically saying if someone owns a Handshake TLD, can they then bridge it or whatever, use it or somehow connect to it on their own blockchain so that it's a naming service there? I mean, I would say I suppose they could, but the why, right? And so again, like I'm out here in the field with this, and I have to illustrate that. Like I really go places in real life and try to convince people and projects to adopt Web3 domains and naming. And oftentimes I run into blockchains that have their own naming service. And I can't argue with that because I actually feel that that's how it should be. And that's probably going to be the future of things. Each blockchain will probably have its own naming service because they're going to be better. Their technology obviously is going to work off the bat, right? They're building it from scratch, but they're also going to be more connected with their community, and their community is going to be more incentivized and aligned with that TLD because it's coming directly from that blockchain. Like you take the case of .sats, for instance. I mean, like even though UD bought that and then they made their promises with the Bitcoin community, still nothing's come of that, right? The community for that and the community that's inevitably going to push that forward is that community that exists within that blockchain. And so while it could happen, I would assume that the only people would buy it just so it wouldn't compete with them. Most of these blockchains are either building their own naming system themselves or some of them are just partnering with like I said, Space ID or ENS or whatever.
Okay, awesome.
We partner with some too.
Well, I think we're almost out of time, but maybe we can get one more question in. It looks like someone here asked how to invest or how much to invest. So it does look like we have some new people joining and wanting to learn about the space, and maybe we could answer that question. And it looks like Mike is coming back in.
Yeah, answer that one, and then we'll go to the next session.
I'm gonna give the standard answer: never afford anything, never invest anything you can't afford to lose. If it's how much you should invest. Yeah, I mean, you can buy domain names for as little as 10 cents or $5 to up to, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on your level of comfortability and what you think you can get a return from it. But yeah, I would
Right.
definitely invest more than I could afford to lose.
Okay, well, I will also add that again, because HNS is still so new and evolving, that it's a great opportunity to invest because it does not take much to invest. You just have to learn a little bit about how it works with regard to the auctions and how to acquire a domain. But like he said, you can really start to invest for as little as a couple of cents to someone earlier talked about having sold a domain for $1 million HSN, which amounted to about 30 grand. So at the time. So basically, you just really have to learn how to open an auction. And the great thing about HNS for the new folks is that you can open an auction. Anybody can open an auction for any name that you want, but then other people do have the ability to bid on it. So you do have to be diligent about making sure that you are the one who ends up with that name and have enough HNS so that you can outbid the next person if you really want that name. So hopefully that answers your question and you'll check it out.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. This was fun. Yeah, there's definitely, it's cool to see some new people. But like Marcus said, of course, speculative, high risk, hopefully high reward. So like, yeah, don't bet your house on it or take a mortgage out or something crazy. So thanks, Marcus. Thank you, Vita. Really appreciate you coming again and sharing with us your experiences and insights.
Thank you. It's definitely a pleasure. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Ditto.
This event wouldn't be possible without our amazing sponsors. Our bronze sponsors, D-Web Foundation, .x, our community sponsors, Handshake Australia, Namebase, Decentralizers, HNS.market. Thank you for your support in building a decentralized future.